as I was approached by Associate Dean Kathy Heil, she said, listen, you've got 2 sections last year. Now we have 3 sections. It looks like you're going to need 4 sections for the upcoming semester. I said, good. She said, well, we need to think about converting this class to online. It can't be done. She said, why not? It's one of your biggest growing classes. I've got field trips, I've got guest speakers coming in, I've got industry experts that come in and impart knowledge to my students. And she says, do you really feel that it can't be done? I said, yeah. She said, okay, you're on the committee then. So I said, what? So I was the biggest naysayer, but I joined a faculty learning group headed up by Alex McDaniel with our Educational Technology Center. And as we got into training, of course, they got to drag me into this meeting because my thought is, you know, not only do the students sign up for this class for the food that is tasted, for the speakers, for the field trip, they sign up because of me. Let me tell you one thing, please take your ego off the syllabus, okay? And so Alex says, listen, let's work on this. Let's see if we can make this right. I said, okay. So Alex says to me, well, what do you got? I said, well, I got a syllabus from this semester. It's a face-to-face class. Alex says, let's take a look at it. Let's go through and let's take a look at each week and let's combine those or let's convert those to what we'll call modules. You know, in the online environment, we don't call them weeks, we don't call them classes, we call them modules because we have some students that will move quicker than others, and so sometimes it's not exactly aligned to a week or a class day within the semester. I said, okay, so we convert the syllabus. Alex says, what else do you have? I said, well, I've got all the PowerPoints that are from the textbook. I've been manipulating them over the last couple of semesters, so they're pretty customized based on what I think the students should learn. He said, that's perfect, let's incorporate those. So we took a look at those, and again, we populated those through 15 different modules. Alex says, what else you got? I said, well, I'm starting to run out of ideas here. So Alex introduces me to the concept of making introductory videos so that students would know who I am as the teacher. He shows me how to go out and find YouTube clips of pertinent cooking techniques or food-related issues that we currently don't have, taught me how to import those. I said, you know, I haven't even thought about this, but for the last 5 or 6 years, anytime any class in our department had a guest speaker, we would film it. Alex says, gold mine. And so what we did was we went through an archive of about 35 videos, but about 8 or 9 of them were food related. And so now all of a sudden we've got the basis for an online class. So that is how I got to this point. The other issue is not only were we starting to grow and running out of room, you know, Kathy Heil had said to me, listen, if we go to 5 and 6 sections, I don't think we can put the classes in your building because you're maxed out. Thinking, holy smokes. The other issue was, at the same time, I was a part of a faculty task force, and we were tasked with, it was called the Summer Session Task Force. And the idea behind that was, how can we get more students to participate in summer semester? So we went into this with a twofold concept. One was to convert this class so we can grow, and number 2, can we expand our student base to those that are not just in Denver, but those that might be in the global community, making this an online class. So that is the premise on how we got started, all right? Here's where I'm going this afternoon with you. We're going to talk about marching in parades. It's kind of a fun analogy, but it works for this group. We'll talk about the connection between parades and our classes, converting unconvertible classes and moving to online. I'll share with you some of the obstacles that I ran into and how we worked around that. teaching the same class online and face-to-face simultaneously. Whoa, you don't think that's like Back to the Future. We'll talk about that, but all of a sudden, for every reason we converted to an online, we still have to maintain rigor and integrity in the face-to-face class. So we want to make sure those are aligned. And then last, as always, how best to serve our students. So let's get right into it. I think we may have seen this picture before. This is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. You know, parades are not only an American institution, but they're worldwide. And who doesn't like a parade? Don't rain on my parade. So parades are kind of a fun thing. I can remember in my small hometown, I was probably 4 or 5, and I'd be going with my mom and dad, and we'd, you know, it's a small town. In small towns, parade goes through the neighborhood sometimes. Maybe they wind up coming down Main Street, but we always had an opportunity where the parade would pass within 2 blocks of our house. So we'd go down there, and I remember this incident where I'm sitting on a lawn chair at a neighbor's house, and here comes the parade coming by, and I look, and who's in the parade? It's my sister. She's marching with the Girl Scouts. I had no idea. It made my sister look like a rock star in my eyes. I was only 5 or 6 years old. Well, I couldn't wait to grow up a little bit more and join her. So, you know, with that real quick, a show of hands, how many people at some point in time have been in a parade? Okay, there's a lot of you there. How about conversely, how many people have never marched in a parade? Okay, so we're going to discuss that in a little bit, all right? In Denver, we've got the St. Patty's Day Parade. You know, when we look across the landscape, there's the Rose Bowl Parade. There's the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Some communities still have the Columbus Day Parade, although in some communities that's not as politically correct as it used to be. In any event, as we take a look at various parades, who are the people that are in these parades? Well, first of all, there's always a grand marshal, okay? Somebody is the parade leader, and somebody gets picked to do that. You know, the fire department, they're always going to roll out not only their newest hardware, but their oldest hardware. Who else do we see in the parades? This was my first, this is not me. My first parade, I marched in it. I was on a little league baseball team. I played left bench, but I got to march, which was pretty good. And I got to wear my hat and carry my baseball gloves, so that was kind of fun. But when we look at parades overall, who else is in there? Well, it's the fire department I mentioned, the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts. Sometimes it's the Auxiliary Police Reserve. And every other type of event, or not event, but group that might be within the community. So, what does marching in a parade tell us? Well, I've got a couple of answers hidden up there, but this is a non-scientific survey. But people that march in a parade, they're joiners. They're a member of a community. They want to be out there. Maybe they're a little bit of a show-off. Maybe they've got some swagger and they've got something to show. In fact, what do we got here? We've got a sense of community. They're a team player. You know, and a team player, baseball team, everybody meet at 9:30 for the meeting, for the parade. That happens. Typically, they're members of an organization. Other organizations, here we see the Sons of the Hibernians. We see the Sons of Italy. All of these groups get involved with their local parades, which is a lot of fun. There's a service to the community. There's the ability to give back, the opportunity to show off, but most important, people that want to be in a parade, they represent a specific group and they don't mind being told what to do. Okay, your group, stand here for the next 45 minutes and then you'll go after that group over there. If you've ever seen parade staging, it's kind of interesting. So when we look at the people that get involved in parades, and I again I come from a large extended family where we all did this, I think that's fairly accurate. What about those people that have never marched in a parade? Well, it looks like we got some parade watchers here. Well, what does that mean? Does it mean that they're a loner? No, of course not. Does it mean that they're an isolationist? I don't think so. It means that they're probably an independent thinker, okay? Absolutely. They're not one to join that group. They want that group to join them, all right? They're an observer, a person who strives for independence. That's the parade watcher. I wouldn't join any group that would have me as a member, okay? Independent thinker, not a joiner. Leader, not a follower. Free thinking, doesn't need to join. People should follow them. And lastly, they like to tell people what to do. All right? So that's a pretty interesting one side or the other. One last look at the non-marchers. Okay? A non-scientific view of where these people grow up and go to. I'm just taking it from my own personal experiences. Those people that have the sense of community, those people that are the joiners, those people that want to be a part of a group, where do they go? Well, my brother went into public administration, okay? I went into restaurant management, but people like this go into the theater department, they go into the music department, and they go into psychology. So there's a spread there. Over on the other side, the people that are the independent thinkers, the people that are the non-joiners, the people that are, I'm not going to follow you, you follow me. Where do they wind up? They wind up in the math department, they wind up in the physics department, and they wind up in IT. So that's what happens with that group. All right? So anyway, what is the parallel here? Get on with it, Mr. Lamb. So what is the connection with parade marchers, non-parade marchers, and this symposium? Before I got up here and I looked out over there, I couldn't tell who was a parade marcher and who was a parade watcher, okay? Well, the truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, that's the same with our students. They've got certain personality traits that we don't know, okay? And we need to be able to understand that some people are joiners and followers, some people are loners and isolationists. Not everybody is a team player, but we've got to be able to figure out how to engage all of them. They are our students. And there are students in the online world and in the face-to-face world. So it's just an interesting way to look at our students from a different prism. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves who our students are. Boomers, well, they started in 46, so the youngest one is 51, up to age 69. I will tell you, my first teaching engagement 15 years ago, I was teaching basic skills in a cooking school. The oldest student was 68, the youngest was 18. What a spread. And we all have those challenges as well, trying to connect a couple of different generations together. Generation X, 35 to 50. Generation Y, these are the millennials, okay? And if we don't remember the big scare, Y2K, everything's gonna crash, everything's gonna, quick, go to the ATM and get money out now because the banks aren't gonna work. Of course, nothing ever happened out of that, but that's why we kind of tag that with the millennials. And then Generation Z is our current group, which is 1 to 14 years old. We probably have not seen them in our environment yet. There's a problem here. They're running out of letters. I don't know what the next generation is going to be called. Do we go back to the beginning and now it's going to be A, B, C, D? I don't know. It's just something to think about. All right? So what is the parallel here? We see these students in our classes, whether it's online or face-to-face. We need to seek to engage them. You know, when we're in a face-to-face environment, engagement is fairly simple. We can tell who the people are that are sitting by themselves. We can see the people that come in and sit down together. And while this is a technology symposium, a lot of our technology is in our face-to-face classes as well. So as a result, we need to engage these students, whether we're online or in a face-to-face class. You know, a lot of times we can tell, kind of funny, if you're in a face-to-face environment, you get in early, you're setting up, and the students start to come in. The first row to be filled is the back row, okay? So just like in church, if you want the last row, you got to come early, okay? Because that's going to fill up first. As we continue here, not to reiterate myself, but we see both students, and we need to be able to work with both types of students, okay? We need to anticipate this because it does happen. We need to plan for it, and we need to get ready for it because all of a sudden, we're in a classroom environment, and the first thing I try to do in my first 2 or 3 sessions is really try to get a handle on who my students are. Who am I not reaching? Who is not responding? Part 3, unconvertible. I deal in a subject matter that has a lot of bells and whistles in it, and I'm the one that said it was unconvertible, but I'm also the one that was convinced that it can be done. So my question to you is, do you have a class that is unconvertible? I have a colleague who teaches a class, and he said the same thing. He says, this beverage fundamentals, it can't be converted, but it can be converted. And I can see, after the success I've seen in a food fundamentals class, I can see how another type of class can be converted. Are there challenges? Darn right there are. We actually have to think. We actually have to dig a little bit deeper. We actually have to go out and find other nuggets of knowledge to stimulate our students if we're going to be in the online environment. Having been on the faculty senate for the last 6 years, I should get battle pay for that one, I'll tell you, but having done that for the last 6 years, we should all know at this point in time that when we offer a college class for 3 credit hours, and it goes for, there's 3 contact hours a week almost. The federal government, Higher Education Commission, they want to see an equal amount of work outside of the classroom, okay? This is where rigor comes in. This is where challenges come in. This is where we really have to dig a little bit deeper, go beyond the textbook so that we can create a learning environment that benefits all of our students. Are there obstacles? You're going to get obstacles, human obstacles, resistance, pushback. However, when it comes to the knowledge obstacles, you can overcome those. You can find a way. You know, I'm going to show you a couple of examples of when I said it can't be done. We worked around a couple of obstacles so that we could achieve online what we had been previously doing in a face-to-face class. Are there opportunities? Absolutely. You know, when I'm sure we all see on TV every other night, here's another ad for the University of Southern New Hampshire. These people are going global in the craziest way, and they're advertising in our market. CSU Global, there's another example. This is the future, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we need to go. And as I'll explain later on, I was successful at doing 1 class in my department. But we've got to start thinking about doing whole blocks of classes if we want to attract those distant students that live outside of the Denver area. In my protest, we can't do this online. I was encouraged by the whole team at our department, and I recognize that not all schools have a department like we have at Metro State University. And so Alex McDaniel said, you know, find a way to make an introductory video so students know who you are. This is one of the biggest, toughest challenges when a student signs up for an online class. Who's my teacher? Are you my teacher? Are you my teacher? They don't know. There's a disconnect there. And unless we make an attempt to bridge that disconnect, we're not going to be successful. So I said to Alex, okay, what do you want me to do? He said, we're going to take your course description, we're going to put it in a teleprompter, you're going to talk to the camera, and you're just going to make it sound natural. And it worked. So we got that done. Alex says, I'm not done with you yet. I said, what do you mean? He says, I want you to create a 2 to 3 minute video for every one of your modules. This does work because I've been approached many a time in the hallway where a student says, "Oh, Chef Lamb, hi, I'm Susie." Never heard of you. But she knows me in the online environment, and she has seen me in 15 introductory module videos. She's seen me in the course overview video. Say that 5 times fast. And then she knew who I am. Side note, Alex says to me, "Jackson," he said, "I want you to put an avatar on your email." What? I saw that movie, The Blue People. I didn't like it the first time. He says, no. He said, "That really means picture, a picture of you." I said, "Okay, let's do that." So he shows me how to load up a picture, so it's my picture in there. So using the resources I have available with the ETC, I approached Scott Hoch. He's our lead video guru, if you will. He's very, very good. And he says, create 2 to 3 minute videos. The first time out, I said, okay, I've got an iPad 2. I got pretty proficient at taking the iPad 2 and propping it up on a shelf, hit and play and say, "Hi, it's Jackson Lamb." And then I would do a 2 or 3 minute video, 2 to 3 minutes only, because they can't sit through anything longer. That's the millennials, okay? So I got very adept at making my own selfies, if you will. And so my first semester I ran with those. They were pretty entertaining. I shot one in my kitchen at home, one in the walk-in refrigerator in our building. One was shot in the dining room, another one was shot in the storeroom. One was shot out on the athletic field. Well, we had a great first run, and everybody liked it, and I approached Scott and I said, "You know, some of those, they're selfies, and they look like it. I wonder if we could do it again, but a little bit more professional." And Scott said, "Not a problem at all. Do you have a script?" I said, "I do have a script." He said, "Send over the script, come over to the film studio, and we'll film this next Tuesday." So I get over there. The subject matter is beef and veal. And you know, here we are in Colorado. This is cattle country. And so I had a specific idea. Again, my idea is I'm trying to reach the student, get their attention just for 3 minutes to see if they'll pay attention to what my intro is, which should inspire them into the rest of the module. Well, I'd like to show you a quick video of one of our more successful ones. Howdy, partners. It's Chef Jackson Lamb, but around here they call me Cookie. Well, today we're talking about Module 8 of Food Fundamentals, and that's Chapter 13 and 14, Beef and Veal. Well, come on, this is cattle country. Let's see what that's all about. So today what we're going to be reviewing is the different cuts of meat and the different steaks that come out of those cuts. We're going to really look at primal and subprimal cuts of beef. What does that mean? Well, when we take a look at a steer, it's divided into the forequarter and the hindquarter. Up in the forequarter, we've got the chuck, which is right between the shoulders. We've got the brisket and the shank. We've got the rib, and we've got the short plate, okay? Those terms don't mean too much to you yet, but once you read that chapter, they will. Then the hindquarter, that's the tail end, and that would be the short loin, the sirloin, the flank, and the round. Well, while those are primal cuts, you're probably more used to subprimal cuts. And in subprimal cuts, those are the terms that we come to recognize. New York steak, T-bone, filet mignon. Isn't that one and the same? It's two separate cuts, to be honest with you. A filet is any cut out of the tenderloin, but a filet mignon comes from the center cut of the tenderloin. It is wrapped with bacon and topped with a mushroom cap. The French, they got a word for everything. We're also going to learn about ribeye steaks, flat iron steaks, Delmonico steaks, named for Delmonico's restaurant in New York, 1857. A hanger steak, a round steak, and we're going to learn about London broil. You know, London broil isn't even a steak, it's a method of preparation. Then there's grades of beef. There's prime beef. You know, only 2% of all beef produced is graded as prime. There's 2% of prime, and then there's everything else. but everything else includes upper choice, choice, select, good, canner, don't ask me where that stuff goes, and the whole concept of no roll. You'll learn about no roll in the chapter, but it's when a beef producer chooses not to get his meat graded by the USDA, and that's a choice that most beef packers or beef growers can do. This is all in chapters 13 and 14, beef and veal. I think you're gonna love it, and then after you read this and finish this module, go out and get yourself a good steak. Also in this module, there is a terrific video featuring Mr. Gordon Stadnick. He is with one of the big beef companies here in town. You're gonna love that video also. It's Cowboy Chef Jackson Lamb. And wait a second, I got a little advice out there for you cowgirls, cowboys, and some of you little buckaroos out there. Finish your plate. Chef Jackson Lamb signing off. Not too bad, huh? When we take a look at that video, I bring a lot of components together. You know, it's a 3-minute video. I talk about another video that's in the module where I have a butcher coming in for about an hour, and he's butchering meat and talking all at the same time. So it does work. This is the bells and the whistles that we're going to talk about in learning management systems, okay? Discussion threads, when I was trying to set this up, Alex had asked me, are you meeting all the learning outcomes of your syllabus with what you've got set up? And I said, I don't know, I think so. He says, well, let's go through it, but let's use the concept of the discussion thread to ensure that all of our learning outcomes are being met. What a great idea. So we went back and I had several videos where a discussion thread would have been appropriate, so we put that in there. But I also keep one discussion thread available which is tied to current events. You know, in this class, students have to learn sanitation. They have to get a serve-safe food handler's certification. They learn about the pathogens and the bacteria that are present in food. They learn food safety. I take this discussion thread of current events and I tie that to the Jensen Farm Listeria outbreak. That was 3 years ago in Rocky Ford this month, okay? Boy, is it appropriate in my classes. A little close to our time, last year, this time, Blue Bell Ice Cream in Texas completely shut down Listeria outbreak. So we tie these into current events, which makes the class more relevant, which is great. Archived videos from past speakers, if you don't have any, get some, but it's a lot of fun, and it allows me to continue to use, I don't have to bring in another guest speaker and film him. I've already got that set up. Full-length movies. This is another thing that we can do in your learning management system. In my class, we utilize Fast Food Nation, Forks Over Knives, and Food Incorporated. And I tie this into a report which I call a movie review, but I ask specific questions. If you're not familiar with these movies, these are all exposés, usually on the fast food industry, on the food industry from a production and distribution perspective. So in my question, I ask, do you or any members of your family, are you members of the farming and agriculture community? And, you know, if we ask specific questions, we get specific answers. More bells and whistles over here. You know, I was encouraged, don't have the big exam. Everybody freaks out over that, you know. I gotta get ready, I gotta cram for the midterm, I gotta get ready for the final. But the millennials appreciate multiple smaller assessments rather than the one big test at the end. And it makes sense. Of course, if you're already doing that, you may know that multiple choice and true false, if it's set up, you don't even have to grade the test. The learning management system grades it, okay? But I want to tell you, think about using either an essay question or a multiple choice question, okay? Well, of course, you know what that means. You're going to actually have to go in there and read it and grade it. But when you do, it really gives you the ability to peer into your student. And if you're in an online environment, sometimes we're just grasping for ways to know who this student is. I'm taking the old hat off. We want to know who the student is, and a lot of times in a book report, a movie review, or in a discussion thread, if we have the properly phrased question, we find out not only the answer we're looking for, but more than that. Of course, with assessments, there's multiple options, and you can do multiple options. And then anytime there's a link that is pertinent to your subject material, certainly include that in your course content. Adding rigor. I'm in an environment where, again, we had field trips. We would have guest speakers coming in. And now that I'm in the online environment and I'm told add more rigor, okay, well, how am I going to do that? Online environments allow for different and unusual assignments for students. So I'm trying to figure out what can I do that I'm not currently doing that would be kind of cool. And so I came up with this idea. I created a scavenger hunt for food, all right? Very cognizant of the fact that students don't have any money. I don't want them going out and buying anything. But what I wanted them to do is go to the store, and here's a list of 20 different proteins, and I want you to find the price per pound for each protein. I have to warn them that, it might take some arithmetic to do some division if the item is only 12 ounces or if it's 22 ounces. Please do the math and then post this assignment to the tab in Blackboard. This was an assignment that I just had 3 weeks ago. So everybody went to their store of their choice. I had 96 students in 3 sections doing this. So everybody went to the store of their choice. King Soopers, Safeway, Whole Foods, Sprouts, Trader Joe's. Nobody went to H Mart. That is the Asian market. There's one up at 92nd and Sheridan. There's another one out at Yale and Parker Road. Nobody went to Trader Joe's. I went there and filled those in myself. But real quick, that's a snapshot of the prices in the Denver market last week. So not only do we have that, here's the other funny thing. And I kept looking at my notes. 96 students, more than 50% went to King Soopers. I don't know why that is. It could be locale, it could be convenience, I don't know, but pretty interesting that more than 50% went to King Soopers. Here was the concept. A whole chicken, one whole chicken is $1.69. A half chicken is probably about the same, but once we start breaking it down, it gets a little bit more expensive, even more expensive. Again, other things I get kind of curious, whole chicken, and I come over here, $4.99 a pound at Sprouts. That's awfully expensive. They're the most expensive. What's going on here? What they did was, oh, look at that whole roasted chicken for $4.99. It's already cooked. That's what so I have to, that's okay. I recognize that. Next semester, this will say whole raw chicken, just so that we can, clarification is a good thing, and sometimes the first time out, we don't have that clarification. Okay, so this guy looks like he's in over his head, okay? He's in over his head because of rigor. So I said to Alex, Alex, now we've got these discussion threads, we've got these full-length movies, we've got videos. When is enough? Alex says, throw more on there. I said, you're kidding me. So add more than you think you should. I said, really? So I did that. But I'll tell you what, I have never gotten a comment, hey, way too much. In fact, I think the students appreciate the rigor because I'm creating an environment where they're going to come out with more knowledge than they realized. A side note, we have about 600 some odd students in our department. We also train the nutrition students. They've got about 800 students. But I'm starting to see in my emails with the students, this food fundamentals class is a very big elective for non-food majors, just because people want to know more about the food that they eat and where it comes from. So as a result, we're reaching a broader spectrum of students than we thought we would, and nobody's complaining that it's too tough. But warn them in the syllabus about the rigor that's coming down the road. Moving into the online environment, we used to have to track all of the students that would get a Serve Safe certificate. And so when we first started doing this, students would go out, get their training, get their certificate, they'd bring it in, here's my certificate. We would make a copy, give them back the original, take theirs, take their copy, put that in a file. And we were doing this for 400 students a year. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, they want to see that kind of certification. And so we realized that we can use our learning management system to park all of these documents in the Blackboard system, and we wouldn't have to worry about filing, copying, holding, okay? Even if you're in a face-to-face environment and you're doing something with some sort of certificate, figure out a way where they can scan, send, and you have an assignment tab, and you'll never handle another piece of paper again. It's a great technique. When we have student assignments, we have a discussion thread, we've got a movie review, set specific parameters of what you want that student to do, okay? So specifically, set minimum response parameters. So I put in there, movie reviews or discussion threads need to be a minimum of 3 paragraphs for a grade of A. That's a general statement, but I have a specific assignment for each report that the students have to do. Develop a rubric to show students what you are looking for with grading criteria. You know, when we have like a discussion thread and you ask 2 or 3 questions, what did you like about the cheese video? Nothing. What cheeses have you eaten? None of those. What cheeses are you looking at eating in the future? None. Unless you set parameters, and I did not when I first got started, I was getting one-word answers to my questions. So we have to think about developing questions that are open-ended questions that deserve more than a yes or no answer. This is a great example of a discussion thread where I had a video from a previous guest speaker. But the great thing about this discussion thread, he's a cheesemonger. And in the original video, he came in with 8 to 12 different cheeses. We decided to create this as an online assignment, and in the assignment it says, purchase 1-ounce quantities of these 6 cheeses to eat along with the original class. How clever that is. And Murray Cheeses, they have the concession at most King Soopers. They'll give you 1-ounce portions, 2-ounce portions, and so not every student does that, and I recognize they're on a budget, but those that do, the discussion thread chatter is absolutely amazing. So in other words, this was one of those things that I didn't want to compromise when we moved into the online environment. What about the cheese tasting? But we've found a way to get around it. And then with the discussion thread, we try to create answers that need longer responses. And you need to give us 3 paragraphs for full credit. Most learning management systems have a grade book. Fantastic. It's so advantageous. You know, back in the old days when we'd walk around, we had the grade book on our clipboard or in our briefcase, and all of a sudden we're 3 weeks from the end of the semester and the student says, what do you mean I have a D? Okay? In this environment, the best surprise is no surprise. We have the opportunity for the students to know exactly where they are at any given time. Hey, do you have a colleague that just cuts and pastes the PowerPoints from the publisher and then plugs in the test, and they just kind of sit back and watch Rome burn? You know, early on, 15 years ago, that was acceptable. That was what we thought online should have been. But everything is different now, and as a result, I will say there is no learning management police. There's a certain thing called academic freedom. Really, what we're trying to do today and at this conference is we're looking at best practices, but you're only accountable to yourself, is what I say. Is there a difference in students' grades online versus face-to-face? I'm trying to look at that, but I don't think so. I don't think we've got that much of a difference, but I will tell you this, culling of the herd, that's a cowboy term. Students sign up for the online environment, they get access to Blackboard, they open up the syllabus and they say, whoa, wait a minute, this is way too much for me. And so as a result, if it's set up properly, I see the students that have signed up and then drop the class. Many students may be new to the online environment. My class is a 1,000 level, entry level class, okay? They may not be prepared for the rigor. They may not have a secure internet connection. In my syllabus, I say, I have given you 3 full-length movies, 8 videos, 9 discussion threads, 15 PowerPoints. The only thing I cannot give you is a secure internet connection. That's your responsibility. And they sign up for an online class, yet I was online last night and I lost my connection. Misconceptions of online classes, you probably could have filled this one in yourself. I'll work at my own pace. It doesn't work that way. I'll take my time. We have a calendar to follow. Hey, I'm taking 18 credits. It'll be easy, right? Not so much. My 2-week trip to Machu Picchu shouldn't be a problem, will it? Well, if you have an online connection down there, not a problem at all. Okay? You know, I think in the spring semester I'll get some skiing in early and I'll wrap it up at the end. As we're transitioning back into face-to-face, it's a little bit harder because, wait a second, what did we get out of face-to-face for in the first place? And now we've got to go back to it. But I found that as we developed the online classes, we were leaving the face-to-face classes to squander. To go back and clean those up certainly made sense. I found that when I took my online class and brought it back, it was totally loaded and ready to go. It worked out great, all right? How do we serve our students? Don't read, listen, don't read the discussion threads. They will bare their soul if you let them, okay? Martin Yan, Chef Martin Yan, Yan can cook, so can you from PBS. He's one of the videos that we use. We got so much response from it that we created a workshop for those online students that wanted to come in and learn how to use knives. I had 4 sections come in one afternoon. It worked out great. Fridays are optional on a lot of campuses, so that's great. There should be no confusion for the student. Where do I find my stuff? You know, in your syllabus, you should be able to direct them to course content or where all the modules and all the components are. How come my other online classes aren't like this one? All of a sudden, you're going to be held up to a standard, and they're going to be looking at some other classes that are not up to speed thinking, how come yours is so organized and the other one isn't? Okay? This is a great comment. You actually make comments on my discussion threads and reports. I had a class where the teacher never commented on anything. Don't be that guy. There are such a thing as conflicting management systems. My publisher has My Culinary Lab. You open it up, it looks like Blackboard. That's like having 2 separate calendars. You're going to lose something there, one or the other, but it's hard to do both, okay? In closing, growth in the online environment is unlimited. If you haven't done so already, start to convert multiple classes. I just talked about that early. Stay challenged in your field. Do the introductory videos. They really work. And if you need to contact me, there I am, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you so much for coming to the Teaching and Learning Symposium.